Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about a comparison between India and Pakistan, how they fare with each other in respect of the military capacity and the capability. So, in the case of war, that if it breaks out in the future, which seems to be a possibility lurking around and looming around the corner, how and who will hold the real edge? Let us try to understand this and analyze in more detail. But first, to give you a brief background that why we are discussing about this particular topic. Now, many of you are aware that tension between India and Pakistan has continuously kept growing after the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack, where 26 innocent civilians were killed by the terrorists who came from the Pakistani side and were indirectly provided support by the Pakistan. Now, in the aftermath, the government of India has initiated a series of retaliatory measures, whether it is about the abeyance and suspension of Indus Water Treaty or forbidding the Pakistani airlines to use Indian airspace, and apart from other assault that we see on the diplomatic front also being launched by India. One other steps that the government of India has taken is the Prime Minister Modi has given a free hand to military to decide how and in what manner to retaliate against such kind of dastardly terror attack. So as both nations seems to be on high military alert, analysts across the world are arguing that any misstep in this direction could push South Asia toward a conflict that can very well become a regional war. It is because of this many of the foreign delegates, whether it is the American Vice President and other what you can call as leaders, have asked to put a restraint both for the Pakistan and India. Now, as far as the response of India is concerned, we have discussed that reportedly Prime Minister Modi has authorized the Indian armed forces to independently decide based on the merit and understanding how and when to retaliate and carry out strike against India. In this regard, many of the Pakistani politicians and even ministers have stated that there is a possibility of imminent strike by India in the Pakistani territory. Now, let us try to understand the military comparison of both countries. So, first of all, if we talk about the manpower, again here we can see that India definitely has an upper hand because India ranks 4th if we talk about at the global scale, while Pakistani holds the 12th position, and that also they have fallen down from the 9th position as far as the manpower is concerned. So in this particular figure we can clearly see in the Indian armed forces we have currently a total active personnel of 14.6 lakh, while we have reserve personnel of 11.6 lakh, that is 28.2 lakh of personnel we can say. The difference between the active personnel and reserve personnel can simply be understood by taking example for those military personnel who take voluntary retirement, let us say before 55 years of age. So until they attain 55 years of age, they still can be called upon by the Indian military if the need arises in the interest of the nation. So those personnel are what we can characterize as a reserve personnel. So again, as compared to India, the Pakistani fares at 6.5 lakh and 5.5 lakh. So if you look, it is not even half, but even lesser than that as far as the military personnel are concerned. Apart from that, the paramilitary forces that can also provide rear end support and take charge in the less sensitive areas, less threatened sectors. So paramilitary forces position also we can see in India we have total out this military strength or the total personal strength at 25.3 lakh, while in Pakistan it is just 5 lakh. So it is 1/5 of India's capacity as such. Not only that, even if we talk about in the future, India is reportedly adding 24 million individuals who are reaching the military age annually. Military age means who are eligible to be recruited in the Indian military, as compared to 4.8 million in the Pakistan. So not only in the past, because we have fought the war with Pakistan in 1947, 1965, 1971, 1971, and then further in 1999. And each of these wars, Indian military has shown its superiority, and because of the what you can call as the strength of Indian military, Pakistan has to retreat and India has emerged as victorious. So basically, in the past, in the present also, if you try to understand from the military manpower perspective, and even in the future, India will maintain the edge. So overall, what you can say that India has a much more deeper and more sustainable recruitment base for future force expansion. The second comparison we can do in the sense of the spending. So again here there seems to be no comparison between India and Pakistan, because if you look at the spending, defense spending, between the year 2014 to 2024, India has increased its defense budget from 50.9 US billion dollar to 86.1 dollar. Now, in the case of Pakistan, on the other hand, we are seeing the defense budget has remained almost same at a meager from 8.7 to 10. What you can call as $2 billion. So there is a huge gap that you can see here. As if you compare the defense budget of India and Pakistan, the Pakistan's defense budget is just what you can call as $10 billion, while India is at $86 billion. So 8 times lesser, you can say, is the spending that Pakistan is currently undertaking. And that is also the reason why we can say that in terms of the conventional military power, India outranks Pakistan by large margin or by wide margin. Other is, as we know, that when we talk about military strength, it is largely made up of three wings. That is the land forces, and then you have the air forces, and then you have the naval forces. So as far as the land power of India is concerned, again, when you talk about the conventional land battle, it is largely, apart from depending upon the armed personals, it depends upon what you can call as the tanks, artilleries, armored vehicles and all. So here also you see a big difference. Pakistan has a tank strength of 2,627, while India's strength is about 4,200, 4,200, about 1.7 and 1.8 times more. Similarly, the big difference you see is in the number of armored vehicles. Pakistan has just 17,000 armored vehicles, while the India's armored vehicle stands at 148,594. So almost 7 to 8 times higher number of armored vehicles we have. As far as the towed artillery is concerned, Pakistan again here has 2,629, while in India we have 3,975 towed artillery. In the case of India, talk about the major tanks India will be dependent upon in case of war is T-90 Bhishma tank. That is what you can call as the variant of T-90 tanks that we imported earlier from Russia, and then also domestically developed Arjun series of tanks. Both of these tanks have shown their capacity in the earlier warfare, and also the T-90 tank, its superior capacity was seen in the Russia-Ukraine war as well. Then if we talk about the air power, again here we can see in terms of the total aircraft, India has a total aircraft of 2,229 fighter jets, while in Pakistan it is 1,399. And then almost in all the cases, whether it is the fighter aircraft you are talking about, whether it is the helicopters we are talking about, transport vehicles, attack helicopters, space mission aircraft, as well as aerial tanker, in all of these cases you can see Pakistan's number is quite lower as compared to the India's. In case of the fighter aircraft, India largely will be dependent upon the Su-30 MKI, which is a superior aircraft. Apart from that, also we have developed indigenous Tejas aircraft. As far as the Pakistan is concerned, they are largely dependent upon the F-16, which Pakistanis have imported from Pakistan, and then you have the JF-17, which they have imported from China as such. So that is all about the air power. Then finally, talking about the naval superiority. Again, here the difference between India and Pakistan is humongous, and this we can see by looking at the fleet strength itself. Total fleet strength of India is at 293, while Pakistan has total fleet strength of 121. This what you can call as the ships only. Now, interestingly, if you talk about India, India currently has access to 2 aircraft carrier, while Pakistan do not have any aircraft carrier as such. Aircraft carrier plays a very important role because it acts as a mobile military base. Aircraft carrier can go and traverse a large distance in the ocean, and in this aircraft carrier then you can have deployment of the multiple squadrons of the fighter aircraft. You can have large number of air force personnel and all that. So this gives a certain edge to a particular country, especially in the context of naval warfare. And that is why if you talk about at the global scale, you'll see that United States has focused a lot in developing huge number of aircraft carrier. Today, US has the largest number of aircraft carrier in the world, and that is the reason why they are able to portray their dominance, their naval superiority across all the oceans of the world. There is Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. Reason is because they have huge number of military bases, naval bases, and also they are able to continuously keep taking what you can call as charge of the different areas by moving their aircraft carrier. So here again, Pakistan, India definitely has a certain edge and advantage. In terms of submarine also, we can say India has 18 submarine, Pakistan has it. India has 13 destroyer, Pakistan do not have any destroyer. And again, difference is clearly visible in the case of frigates, corvettes, or the petrol vessels as such. So what we can understand from this comparison, that India's navy is significantly more capable, whether it is in the terms of the size or whether it is in the terms of strategic depth as such. And India's larger maritime footprint supports its regional dominance in the Indian Ocean and enhances its strategic deterrence against both Pakistan and China. And that is why you can understand that why we are so much focused upon developing more aircraft carriers in the future, because we do not have threat from Pakistan only. We have to develop our military taking into consideration the Chinese military development as well. And China recently also has begun to develop more number of aircraft carrier. It has added in the recent past. Also, it has planning to further increase number of aircraft carriers in the future as well. And that is why we are also focused upon this. So by this comparison, what in single line we can say that India's navy can be considered as a blue water navy, a true blue water navy. On the other hand, Pakistan navy is what we can characterize as a green water navy. Blue water navy basically means that India can portray its excellence and strength in the naval warfare, not only along the coastal areas of India, but also in far deeper oceans beyond the exclusive economic zone or even in the international water as such. On the other hand, the Pakistan's navy is more suitable to guard the coastal areas or the coastal borders of Pakistan, and that is why the dominance of the Indian navy can be clearly observed here. Now the question comes about which many of the leaders have raised concern about, that any kind of regional war between India and Pakistan can lead to a nuclear war. So the reason is because both countries are nuclear armed countries, and as per the Arms Control Association, it is believed that both countries are having a warhead almost similar in number, that is about 170. As far as the nuclear policy is concerned, India adheres to a no first use nuclear doctrine, which means India will not use nuclear weapon unless and until it is attacked by a nuclear weapon. On the other hand, Pakistan has a policy of right to initiate a nuclear response if and when deemed necessary. What it means is that Pakistan do not have such kind of restriction that they will use nuclear weapon only when they are attacked by nuclear weapons. That means in a case of large scale conventional attack by the Indian army, even if it is not using nuclear weapon, Pakistan can use nuclear weapon, and this is the exact threat that was given by Pakistan during the tenure of General Pervez Musharraf in the year 2001 and 2, when India began to mobilize its troops in the aftermath of Parliament attack in the December 2001. So this is the major difference in the policy stance about the nuclear uses or nuclear weapons uses. Now, we know that at the global scale, Russia is having the largest number of nuclear weapons, followed by US, France, China, UK. Then you have Pakistan, Israel, North Korea. Now the question is that what will carry these nuclear bombs or a nuclear warhead in the Pakistani territory in the case of attack? So the answer is largely it will be supplied by the missiles. Now if we talk about the major missiles both countries have, India's deadliest missile is Agni 5, which is having a range of more than 5,000 kilometers. Many experts argue it can have a range of about 8,200 kilometers also. And the case of Pakistan, the deadliest missile is Shaheen 3, which has a range of 2,750 kilometers. And as per recent report, Pakistan is trying to increase the range of these missiles to 3,200 kilometers, largely the help of China. Now, China obviously has a lead here because it has the deadliest missile called as Dongfeng 41, which has a range of 14,500 km. And the reason is because China also has developed this missile keeping into mind the risk and threat it faces from the Western world, especially United States of America as such. So that is how basically we can understand the missile capacity or nuclear missile capacity. Now both countries are trying to develop nuclear triads. That means they are trying to launch nuclear missiles by land through what you can call nuclear warheads through land by using a missile, for example, by air by through use of what you can call as the aircraft, and also by sea through use of what you can call as the submarine. So in the case of India, we have one nuclear powered ballistic missile submarine, that is INS Arihant with 750 km range of nuclear missile. 3 more SSBNs are being built at Vizag. Over 13,000 ton S5 class SSBN is also to be built later as such. So that is how we can understand the nuclear capacity of both these nations. Now, as we know that war is not only fought by the military resources or the weapons. It is fought by the strength of the economy. It is fought by the money that can be backed up to provide support to the military resources and military personnel. So again, let us try to take a look at the key numbers between India and Pakistan. Now, obviously, again, Pakistan fades down if you compare the economic figures here. If we talk about the GDP of India, it is $4.2 trillion, which seems humongous against the meager $374 billion of Pakistani GDP. Population, obviously, we have discussed, India is today the most populous nation, and the population figure of Pakistan stands at just 0.3 billion. Defense budget already we have discussed in the beginning. On also, if we talk about the foreign reserves, as you know, that one of the major casualty of war is the import and export and the trade. And when the trade is disturbed, foreign exchange can serve as a cushion against any kind of what you can call as the market disruptions as such. So India has built humongous, we can say, forex reserve of $677.84 billion, while Pakistan forex reserve stands at just $15.6 billion as such. So even from the economic point of view, if you look in the case of war being dragged for a greater duration of time or greater period of time, India seems to be at a better position or more suitable position vis-a-vis Pakistan in handling the expenditure and expenses incurred during the war as such. As far as the operational experiences are concerned, while India holds the numerical and technological upper hand that we already have established in the earlier part of the video, we have to understand that there are certain strategic constraints as well. And this strategic constraints emanates from the point or emanates from the fact that India has to secure two borders, one in the west toward Pakistan and one on the east toward China. So a large portion of Indian troops are deployed along the northern border with China, which has recently or in the recent years seen a flashpoint. Example is June 2020 Galwan Valley clashes we can talk about. Pakistan, on the other hand, also cannot what you can call as mobilize its entire troop toward India's side, toward the west, because they also have to protect their western frontiers, where spillovers from the Afghanistan or spillover threats from Afghanistan is seems to be entering and coming in Pakistan on a regular basis. In conclusion, what we can say that India's superior economy and the military infrastructure provides it with a commanding edge across most of the conventional parameters, while Pakistan can rely on the tactical nuclear capabilities and asymmetric strategy for the deterrence as such. So, in the case of conventional war, that in the future, if it indeed occurs between India and Pakistan, we can again conclusively say that India is in a better position to have the result of war in its own favor. So that is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your aspirants, and subscribe to our channel for more such content. Thank you.